Good evening and welcome to a very warm welcome to the penultimate episode for the year of the Game of Two Halves podcast, powered by the Geelong Region Soccer Show and proudly brought to you by our major sponsor, The Gordon. My name's Tonshi Prusak and I'll be with you over the next 60 minutes or so as we bring to you some very, very different but very, very interesting guests tonight. We'll be speaking to several people tonight. Throughout the night, we'll be speaking to an author. He's actually based in Torquay, an author of a new book. It's his second football book, and David PICKEN is his name. For those of you involved with Surf Coast Football Club, you'll know David very well. He was heavily involved coaching and volunteering there for many a year, and he's released a new book called Football Fans in Their Own Right. And it basically asks football fans why they started supporting the particular club of their choice. We'll find out more about that book. And plus, we've got a very, very special book giveaway, courtesy of David and Fair Play Publishing as well, his publishing house. So make sure you do stay on the show, stay tuned in throughout the evening, because there will be a special book giveaway for one lucky person, one lucky viewer of the Game of Two Halves podcast. Also, we'll be crossing live to the Barwon Valley Activity Centre, the BVAC, in Belmont. It is the official launch, or the season launch, if you like, of the summer season for the Geelong Futsal Leagues. Monday night is men's competition night, so we'll be crossing over to the Operations Director of Geelong Futsal, Dermott. He'll be telling us all about what is going down at BVAC this week. Basically, it is a full house for most nights. So it's going to be one huge summer futsal season here in Geelong. But he'll be speaking to us about a newly launched, a club as well as an academy program. The Geelong Futsal Club is what it's going to be called, the new Geelong Futsal Club. And it's basically a rep club that will be playing at various tournaments in Melbourne and around the country. But they've also launched, for the elite player pathway, an academy program. We'll find out more about that a little bit later on in the show. We'll also be joined by Dale Harris. Now, everyone knows Dale, especially if you're involved with Barwon Soccer Club. But Dale Harris is the senior men's head coach. And he'll basically explain to us why, as a coach, there is never an off-season. He'll also be talking about all the latest things that are happening down at Grovedale Reserve. And also, everyone wants to know, will the popular annual World Cup tournament that Barwon Soccer Club hosts on a regular basis, will that be back for 2023? We'll find out the answers to all those questions a little bit later on. But folks, don't go away. We're going to have our news desk. There's some interesting news things happening, as there is every week. And then after that, it's time for our guests. It is the Game of Two Halves podcast, powered by the Geelong Region Soccer Show. And a big, big thank you to our major season sponsor, The Gordon. Don't go away, folks.
Your future is in your hands. There is a whole world waiting for you, and your choices determine how you will impact it. At The Gordon, we recognise this. That's why we champion hands-on learning. Get your hands dirty. Grab what's in front of you. Learn by doing. Turn your passion, your ideas, and mould them into your creations. You'll be supported the entire way. You'll grow your skills in small classes, guided by teachers who are industry experts. You'll learn in state-of-the-art facilities or out in a real-world workplace setting. Your hands-on experience will increase your understanding and put you ahead of your university peers. You'll graduate work-ready, and you'll graduate sooner, with a huge range of qualifications to choose from and support services to enable your success. Now is the time to continue your learning journey. At the Gordon, your future is in your hands.
Welcome back to the Game of Two Halves podcast, powered by the Geelong Region Soccer Show. We'd love to hear your feedback on how you've seen the year this year. Is the Game of Two Halves podcast an appropriate name for a podcast around the Geelong region, or should we next year return back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show? Let us know what you're thinking and what's happening at your club. Tell us which club you support, and tell us, is there any interesting news happening in the off-season? Any coaches being appointed? Any players signed? We'd like to know all the goss that is happening. Pop it in the comments section. Let's start off with what is making news in the local Geelong Advertiser, the local press. And as we can see, last Saturday, Muika rides his last wave. So a story there about a long-time coach of Surfside Waves, Pablo Mujica, who has... unfortunately, after 10 years, he has parted ways with the Surfside Waves. Dan Benson, an experienced player, and he was the captain of the Waves. He has now replaced Pablo Mujica as the coach of the Surfside Waves senior men's team in State 5 for next season. In today's edition of the Geelong Advertiser, Ruthless Rangers take title. It is a story there about the Geelong Rangers under-14 team who came out on top last Wednesday in their game against the Brimbank Stallions, defeating them 4-0 to clinch the under-14 Juniors Metro A competition, and in effect bring down the curtain on what has been a rather eventful, rather interesting, rather exciting, and at times rather disappointing 2023 season. But for some of those clubs, including the young lads from Rangers under-14s, it was a very, very triumphant year. Also, a new role for Corio coach Ivan Biskin, which we reported, I think, last week. Yes, he's now the Director of Football, a newly created role at Barwon Soccer Club. There has been no news regarding, though, who the coach is going to be of the senior men's team. Stay tuned. No doubt we will be finding out that in the next few weeks. And as we mentioned, the Geelong Rangers under-14 team, well, they did really, really well. There's a close-up photo of that team. Excellent effort by the team collectively and by their coach, Pete Bradley, who was a guest on last week's show, appealing to fans to come down to Myers Reserve last Wednesday, and certainly looking at the highlights and judging from all the feedback, it was a very, very good crowd on hand. So well done to everyone that did venture out to Myers Reserve and give the young lads a show of support. So well done to them. Look, as we mentioned earlier, the Geelong Futsal season has kicked off tonight as we speak. And as you can see there, on a Monday night and the Wednesday night, it is absolutely chockers. It's completely full. There are 24 teams in the men's competition on a Monday night, 24 teams in the men's competition on a Wednesday night. The Tuesday night, well, at the moment, there's only 4 teams in the mixed competition. There may well be a flow-on of men's teams in this one as well. On a Thursday, at the moment, we've got 12 teams in the boys under-16 competition. Unfortunately, only 4 teams in the women's competition. That's pretty disappointing, ladies. I would have thought that with all the interest in women's football at the moment, there'd be a lot more than that. But look, there's still time before Thursday. Hopefully you can get a team together and we can have at least 6 teams in a competition, a women's only competition. So for all inquiries, do contact admin@geelongfutsal.com.au or call 0455 199 909. We will be speaking with Dermott TEBB from Geelong Futsal a little later on, and he may actually have some updates with regards to those number of teams. Hopefully there are more teams as well. The boys under 14 on a Friday night, under 12s on a Saturday, and under 10s also on a Saturday. As yet, we don't have competition details with regards to how many teams, etc. We're going to touch on this, but we'll talk a little bit more about this with Dermott later on in the program. The Geelong Futsal Club has been created, has been founded, if you like, and the expressions of interest are now open for its academy program. So to register your interest or for more information regarding the Geelong Futsal Club Academy program, click on the following website, www.geelongfutsal.com.au. There's /program/ all, it's all there. But if that's too hard to remember, just go geelongfutsal.com.au. All the information is there that you possibly need. Also, just a reminder, as the season kicks off, that all players must have completed and paid for their individual player rego via Play Football. This is your insurance, so it is vital you complete it in order to take the court. Any questions, once again, head over to that website, geelongfutsal.com.au. Now, over in Adelaide over the weekend, it was the Australian-Croatian soccer tournament was held on the weekend. Unfortunately, the North Geelong teams didn't do too well. They didn't qualify for final of the men's Division 1, the women's division, or even the Masters competition. However, what did, from a local perspective, a rather significant occurrence was the induction of one of North Geelong Warriors' 3 co-founders into the Croatian Soccer Association of Australia Hall of Fame. Aldo Sakita, a well-known name, coming from a well-known family in Geelong, was one of 3 men who in 1967 founded the North Geelong Warriors Soccer Club. And there he is, Aldo, flanked by his 2 daughters. He received the ultimate accolade, if you like, in the Croatian Soccer Association of Australia Hall of Fame. A fantastic achievement. There's Aldo on stage when he's receiving his award, and North Geelong President Tom Trupkovic there at the podium. He's paying tribute to Sakita Senior, and Aldo is joined there by his 2 sons, 2 well-known identities in the local football community, John Sakita and Mario Sakita. So congratulations to Aldo Sakita. There he is, flanked by members of his family as well as members of the committee of the North Geelong Warriors. So fantastic news there, and well done there. We'll have a little bit of this is on the North Geelong Warriors Facebook page, a little bit of a tribute there, so you can read that entire tribute to Aldo Sakita on the North Geelong Warriors Facebook page. Now, also speaking of the North Geelong Warriors, there were at least 6 players from the North Geelong Warriors that are currently up in Sydney representing Victorian country state team. They are Kian Arjamand, Tobias Servin, and Aham Islam from the under-15s, and also Marko Juric, Luka Didolica, and Marcus Periton from the under-16s team. So that is well done to those 6 youngsters who are representing the Victorian North Geelong, representing the Victorian country team. There we go, the Victorian white team in the under-15s and the under-16s. And if we look in the under-15s there's also another Geelong boy, Carl Leban, who was playing with Western United. He also was part of the under-15s team, and also in the under-16s, Patrick Wall, who also has played at North Geelong Warriors throughout his junior days. So well done to those 2 as well. In the boys Victorian blue team, which is the Metropolitan team in effect, There is a very famous name there in the under-15s, Anthony Didlitzer, and that is the son of Ante Didlitzer, former Coroyo and North Geelong coach as well. So he plays his football now at Melbourne City, I believe. So there's quite a few Geelong representatives there in the Victorian state teams, both the Metro and the country teams as well, and they are in action in Sydney as we speak this week. That brings us to the end of the news desk. We're going to take a very, very short break. Folks, when we return, we're going to be speaking to an author of a new book by the name of Football Fans in Their Own Right. David PICKEN is based here locally. He lives in Torquay, has been involved with the local football scene via the Surf Coast Football Club, and he'll be telling us all about his latest book, his newest book, straight after this break. Folks, don't go away. It is the Game of Two Halves podcast, powered by the Geelong Region Soccer Show, and proudly brought to you by our major sponsor, The Gordon.
Are you too busy running your own business to worry about your financials? Allow J Hill Books to focus on your books so you can focus on your core business. Based in Lara, Geelong, J Hill Books owner, operator and senior bookkeeper Judy Hill has always worked in finance administration. The world of cloud accounting, however, means that clients can be based anywhere within Australia. Currently, J Hill Books services clients from Lara, Geelong, the Bellarine Peninsula and Melbourne. You won't need to come home from working all day and start on paperwork. You can spend your time in other productive areas such as marketing or quoting, or even better, come home and switch off. You will know how your business is tracking as often as you need, whether that is on a weekly, monthly or quarterly basis. You can be satisfied that you are meeting your legal requirements to your staff and to the ATO. And deadlines will no longer be stressful for you. Let J Hill Books take the stress out of running a small business and allow you to enjoy watching your business go to the next level. For more information, visit our website at www.jhillbooks.com.au, or better yet, call us on 0402 469 243 or email us at info@jhillbooks.com.au.
Welcome back to the Game of Two Halves podcast. It is my absolute pleasure to now introduce to the show. He's an author. He's also been a junior coach, and he's also been a volunteer at Surf Coast Football Club. But tonight he's going to be talking about his new book called Football Fans in Their Own Right. An absolute pleasure to welcome David PICKEN. David, good evening and welcome to the Game of Two Halves podcast.
Good evening, Donchi. Thank you very much for asking me to come on. It's very kind of you.
Thank you. Mate, thank you so much for coming on the board, on the show. But now the latest book, it's an interesting book. It's a compilation of I guess various people who have explained how they came about to enjoying or for supporting their team. It's called Football Fans in Their Own Right. But the inspiration came from a very unusual place, if you like. Of all places, it came during a Christmas Eve mass in South Australia. Tell us a bit more about that.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I think I can say that the idea of the book has been in my head for a long time. We all know of well-known people who follow football teams. We can choose several. Let me just choose one random. Elton John. Lots of people know that he follows Watford, and of course has done since he was a boy. And at one time he was the chairman of the club. There are lots of people like that. So the basic notion of the book, the basic idea, has been in my head for quite some time. But you're right. What really sparked me into action was being at Christmas Eve Mass at a small town in South Australia where my daughter was living, and the priest. In his words of introduction, I would say, I think he was quite clever. The Pope Francis had only recently become Pope at that particular time. And remembering that we're in South Australia, not in Adelaide, but not very far from Adelaide, and his words of introduction were something along the lines of, I just want you to all know, ladies and gentlemen, that the Pope is a Crows supporter. And as you can imagine, there was a kind of like a bit of movement in the congregation, and people sort of edged forward and thought, what's all this about? The Pope supporting the Crows. Of course, then he went on to say that the Pope follows San Lorenzo, one of the top teams in Buenos Aires, and San Lorenzo's nickname is Los Cuervos, which in Spanish is the Crows. So I thought that was quite clever, because he'd pulled people in straight away. And so it was actually that, and I thought, yeah, that idea I've had of actually basically what the book is getting well-known people to write about why they follow the team that they follow. Maybe I should do something about it. So I think what I can say is that also, just as it were, to follow on from that, initially the working title of the book was Famous Football Fans. But I do have some famous people in the book, as I think you've already noticed. But I realized that, okay, I'm not going to get a book full of famous people. It won't be possible. And so then I started casting around and thought, well, yeah, maybe there are other people who, they might not be famous in the orthodox sense, but they have a football story to tell. I felt as if I could justify different people, if I could get them to actually make a contribution, then justifying why they should be in the book. Well, that was down to me. I mean, the basic structure of the book is the person writing about why do they follow a particular football team, and preceding that, if you would like to call it, is my introduction to that person, in the shape of a mini biography, I suppose we could say. And so that was my task. Once I'd got these people lined up, in the introduction, making a case for why they're there. And so that's where we are with football fans in their own right. Obviously, I'm playing around with the word right, W-R-I-T.
Very, very.
But yeah, I think it works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it works absolutely brilliantly, to be honest. I think there it is. It comes across really good. Now, apart from Pope Francis, we've got Bishop Libby Lane, actor Sir Tom Courtney, film director Ken Loach, and then Australians such as Peter Wilkins, Ivan Hill as well. Then we've obviously got people like Chris Niku, who was the chairman of Football Australia, Brendan Schwab, Frank Farina is another one that's really comes to mind. But one particular interesting one from a local perspective is none other than local doyen, local football historian Roy Hay. Roy's an historian, and he's got a really interesting story. Air United. We don't really talk about that club. But what was Air United? Why was that so close to Roy's heart?
Well, that's the part of the world where Roy comes from. You know, he's followed Air United since he was a boy. And as he describes in his story, you know, he's actually got direct connections to the club with members of his family being involved. So yeah, that's put very simply, that's where he is from in the UK, where he was born and where he grew up and where he played his own junior soccer.
What about some of the other individuals mentioned there? Were there any really interesting stories that stood out for you?
Yeah, there were. There are a lot. I mean, you know, how long have we got?
Probably not that much, but doesn't matter.
No, but I'm just trying to think. Just to choose a couple for you. I think the two I'm going to. Well, the first one I'm going to choose is the former referee Keith Hackett. That may not be a name that jumps off the page to some people, but me being a POM, you know, I know who Keith Hackett is. And a couple of things maybe we can say is that when football refereeing in the UK went professional, and they have this organisation, PGMOL, however they say the acronym, Professional Games Match Officials Limited. Keith was, when he retired from refereeing, he was actually the manager of PG Mall.
Righto.
The top refereeing thing. He never refereed in a World Cup, refereed in Olympic Games, but one of the things that he is well known for is the fact when he refereed, he got the opportunity. You only get one. He refereed an FA Cup final, and we may have some, dare I say, some older listeners who are Tottenham Hotspur fans. They will remember the FA Cup final when Tottenham won the cup and beat Manchester City in a replay. And in Keith's piece, he was the referee of that game. And it's characterised by the winning goal from Tottenham was an absolutely mesmerising goal scored by the Argentinian player Ricky Villa.
Mm-hmm.
As I say, Tottenham supporters of a certain vintage will remember that. And Keith tells us the story about what it's like to referee an FA Cup final. And it's really quite insightful. But then he also goes on to talk about following Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, when I first recruited him, that was what he was going to do. He was going to write about Sheffield Wednesday. I worked out, discovered that he was a Sheffield Wednesday fan, famous referee, and would he like to contribute to the book? And he said, yeah, he would. So there's always a time lag before these things happen. And so he did his, eventually he did his piece, but when it came to me, it was about refereeing the cup final. I didn't mind, that was okay. But then I said to him, well, would you like to do something about Sheffield Wednesday? And he did. And of course, the reason he follows Sheffield Wednesday is because that's where he, like with Roy, that's where he was born and that's where he grew up, and he follows that team. But he tells for me, he tells a really poignant story in his piece, because as you would expect, being an elite referee, or a referee of any kind, if you like, you're not going to get to referee your own team. So he would never be selected to referee a game, a Sheffield Wednesday game at Hillsborough. But then on one occasion, fortune came into play, and he was chosen to referee an FA Cup semi-final at Hillsborough. You know, this was in the days of when they didn't hold the semi-finals at Wembley. They would hold them at a neutral ground for the two participants. Typically, they would use Aston Villa's ground, Villa Park, and Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday's ground. And Keith got the opportunity to run out at Hillsborough, where the place that he'd gone to watching the games as a boy.
What an interesting story, Go on.
Could I just quickly say, Tonchi, the poignant thing about it, though, is that when he went to Hillsborough, he didn't go to straight drive to the ground. Obviously, he would have a parking spot set aside for him. He didn't do that. What he did was he drove to where he used to live as a small boy. The house is no longer there. It's been demolished. But he parked his car, took his kit out of the car, and he walked to the ground. He describes this. He walked to the ground just like he used to with his father as a boy, going to watch Sheffield Wednesday. And I was really quite touched reading that.
Yeah.
So that's quite a special one.
Well, that's just one of many, of 29, in fact, stories. So it is a phenomenal read. It's recommended retail price is $29.99, and it's available through Fair Play Publishing, available at all good book stops, but you can go online on Amazon. Is that right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Now, we're going to be giving away one book today to one lucky viewer, one lucky reader, if you like, as well. And simply what we want you to do is email us at communitysportsmedia@gmail.com, or you can just pop it in the comments section why you support your club and the reasons that you're so passionate about your club. So who do you support, number one, and why you're so passionate about that club? The most interesting and most original and most entertaining answer, we will award a book, a copy of The Football Fans in their own right, to that lucky person. So we'll leave that right up until the end of close of business tomorrow. So the rest of this show and also right up until 5 p.m. tomorrow, email us at communitysportsmedia@gmail.com or pop it in the comments section, and one lucky reader will get their hands on the one copy of the Football Fans in their own right, courtesy of Fair Play Publishing. And David, thank you so much for that. And David, you were also involved heavily in local football through Surf Coast Football Club. Do you get a chance much these days to pop out and watch any local football?
Oh yeah, I watch. Definitely, I watch. Obviously, I'm not I'm involved in a very, very, very small way these days. I monitor the mailbox. That's what I do at the moment. But just to sort of keep me involved. But I certainly go and watch. And we had some great nights there during the Women's World Cup, watching Matilda's games. Just great to see the club was packed, and no doubt probably packed in lots of other clubs around the Geelong area in the same way.
Yeah, fantastic.
So yeah, great club, and very good spirit, lovely people, and just like it's not only Surf Coast Football Club. Yeah. You and I both know there are lots of similar clubs in the area where volunteers are doing great work and helping young people to play football, which is a great thing.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of the World Cups, David, you've written another book about your journey to the 2006 World Cup entitled "The Time of My Football Life," and that's also available through Fair Play Publishing. And I dare say that one's available through Amazon on Amazon as well, is it?
I'm not sure whether it's available still on Amazon. You can still get a copy through Fair Play Publishing, though.
Speaking of Amazon, and we're certainly not marketing or anything, receiving anything from Amazon, but Amazon, I think they've got a Geelong depot now, and you can, depending on what it is that you order, you can get it very, very quickly. I know my son ordered an EAFC through Amazon the other day and got it on Saturday within 24 hours. So they do a very, very good job.
I would just say that don't ask me to explain this because I can't. But in the UK, Amazon in the UK have been doing infinitely better than Amazon in Australia in supplying my book.
There you go.
I mean, they have easier logistics than us. We know that. But I know I'm aware of lots of people in the UK who've bought the book. They order it one day and it arrives the next day.
There you go.
Now, as I say, you explain that to me for a book that's written in Australia, published in Australia. I don't know where they get the supplies from.
Yeah.
But anyway,
they do somehow.
They do.
Nonetheless.
Somehow.
All right, David, thank you very much for joining us here on the Game of Two Halves podcast. Really appreciate it, and good luck with the sales of the book, Football Fans in Their Own Right.
Thank you. Conchi, can I say just one final thing? Obviously, I want to thank you for asking me to come on. It's very kind of you. Just with the people who are going to write in to get the book, what they need to do, they need to tell us, they need to give us a special moment about supporting their club. Could be a favourite player, could be a favourite game, could be a favourite season. Yes. That's what I asked my contributors to do. That was my only brief to them. And so let's have these people who write in give us a great memory about the club that they follow.
Absolutely. Good on you. David, thank you very much. On that note, wish you all the best. And once again, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Good on you.
Bye-bye.
David Picken, he's the author of the new book, Football Fans in Their Own Right. So please contribute either in the comments section or email us communitysportsmedia@gmail.com and you'll get your own copy of the book. Don't go away, folks. When we return, we're going to do a live crossover to the Barwon Valley Activity Centre to catch up with Dermott TEBB from Geelong Futsal and find out all the latest about the Geelong Futsal Club's Academy program. Don't go away, folks.
Hi, I'm Joe Gergich.
And I'm Helena Fentella.
And welcome to our family here at Harcourts.
Welcome back to the Game of Two Halves podcast, and we're crossing live to the BVAC Sports Centre out in Belmont, where we're joined by Dermott TEBB from Geelong Futsal. Dermott, good evening. How are you?
Good, Tonchi. How you going, mate?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. We're coming to you live and in the background we can actually see the summer futsal season has launched this evening. Huge numbers for the Monday night program. First of all, before we get into the academy program, tell us what's the state of affairs with the Geelong Futsal leagues this summer.
Mate, the leagues are going very strong. Like you said, there's good interest. Tonight we are at capacity with a number of our competitions, and the rest are really close. So if people are still looking to put in teams, we're doing grading for this week and this week only, and proper competition will commence next week with the extremely limited and some already finished up. So hopefully we will reach capacity in all the competitions and put on a good show for everyone that you can see there in the background.
Yeah, that's fantastic. The only I guess disappointing thing is that the women's competition is struggling at the moment, or has there more teams been entered in the last couple of days?
Has been struggling a little bit, but just overall, we've got some. Last year we had no female divisions. This year we've got an under 12 girls, an under 14 girls, and a women's division. So we're really happy that we've got 3 dedicated female divisions, and hoping that it enables more women and girls the opportunity to join the competition and play our great game.
Fantastic. Well, it would be good to get a few more women's teams, that's for sure. But mate, let's talk about the Geelong Futsal Club firstly as a concept. So is that going to be a new club altogether, and then secondly we're talking about the academy program as well as part of that?
It will be. So obviously we've been running competitions here just socially for people wanting to have a kick. And the quality we've found is quite high. So we wanted to allow both kids and adults the opportunity to potentially have a go at the next level, and both train and try play against some of the best kids in the state and across Australia.
Oh, brilliant. And that's where the academy program comes into it, yeah?
Yeah, correct. So we've got a bit of an EOI program open at the moment, and we're going to be starting that tomorrow with basically under 8s to 16s, and then we'll grow it from there. Yeah,
fantastic. We've got it in the comments section there. There's a link there, geelongfutsal.com.au/programs/2023-24 GFC Academy / So if you are interested in finding out more about those programs and finding out how your child could benefit by being involved in that, do go to that website. It is there in the comments section, so people can find out all about that. Mate, it's been a massive start, a huge start. We always knew it was going to be quite big, but I guess no one really expected it to be this big. So you've certainly got your hands full, but exciting times ahead for the sport of futsal in Geelong.
Yeah, it has been busy times, Tonchi, but that's the way we like it. We prefer lots of people playing. So the more people playing, the better. And hopefully we can keep this going year round and really offer some well-rounded programs, right from social leagues that are playing at the moment right to the top level.
Awesome. Mate, we'll let you get back to it. You've got a pretty busy program. I think you're there till 10:30 tonight, 11 or something like that. So it's pretty full on. But thanks for taking some time out and bringing us up to date with all the latest with Futsal Geelong.
No problems. Thanks for having us.
Good on you. That is Dermott TEBB from the Geelong Futsal organisation. And, it's massive. 24 teams on a Monday night, 24 teams on a Wednesday night, and all the other divisions and nights are growing very, very quickly. Folks, we're going to take a very quick breather. When we return, it's time for our final guest for tonight. We'll be speaking to the Barwon Soccer Club's senior men's head coach, Dale Harris, always a welcome visitor to our podcast. He'll be telling us what's been happening at Grovedale Reserve in the off-season. Folks, don't go away. Back shortly.
There is a whole world waiting for you, and your choices determine how you will impact it. At the Gordon, we recognise this. That's why we champion hands-on learning. Get your hands dirty and learn by doing in state-of-the-art facilities, guided by teachers who are industry experts. You'll graduate work ready, and you'll graduate sooner. Now is the time to continue your learning journey. At the Gordon, your future is in your hands.
Welcome back to the Game of Two Halves podcast. We're in the home straight now, and it's an absolute pleasure to have this man on the show. Always is. He's very, very popular, and he's an icon of the local football community. And he's the Barwon Soccer Club senior men's head coach. A very, very good evening to Dale Harris. Good evening, Dale. How are you?
Hey, Tonchi. Well, in yourself?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. Well, we were talking off air earlier tonight, and we were saying how for a coach, a local coach, it just never seems to be any off season. There's always work to do, always preparations for the next season ahead. How you been? How have you had a chance to switch off and go on a little bit of a break, or has it been like all systems go, getting ready for 2024?
I'd say it's all systems getting ready for 2024. It even started before the season was over. You're always ready to go. You can't wait for the break, but then when the break happens, you can't wait to get started again. So we were already, Kieran, myself, and Wayne were doing shortlists already before the season ended.
Yeah.
So it never stops. It never ends.
Now let's cast our mind back to 2023. It was the first year that the Barwon Soccer Club played in State 4 after gaining promotion from the previous year. How did you find it overall?
Well, the games were, it had to get played over 90 minutes. So, like I said before, with State 5, you could wrap up a game in the first half sometimes. But we found out that on numerous occasions that even a 3-goal lead wasn't enough. You had to fight till the last minute. So that was the difference between State 4 and State 5 that I found this year. The standard was much better, individual quality players. There were a lot of game changes in every club, at every club. So we had to do our homework. We had to prepare ourselves fully for the games every time. It was just competitive. There was no real easy team at all. No team where we could focus on goal score, getting our goal difference up, or perhaps giving some fringe players a start. It was just one of those tasks where we had to field our strongest squad. That was available all the time.
And we saw it's just a hard league to get out of. We saw Surf Coast did so well, gallantly, in fact. They got through to the playoffs and just couldn't. It fell at the last hurdle on penalties, which is unfortunate. But it is a very tough league with only one team automatically gaining promotion. And if that team is a standout club like Laverton FC was this year, it makes it really, really difficult for the rest of the teams. But you've hit the ground running, obviously. What else is happening at Barwon Soccer Club at the moment in the off season? Preparations, I assume, for like the presentation nights and end of season functions.
Yeah, well, we have our presentation night coming up shortly, and then well, that's going to be a busy one considering the fact that we've got so many senior teams. It's going to be a long night, and we've had a very successful season across the board with our seniors, so yeah, it's really going to be a great night. And then after that's done, the advertising for the 7-a-side World Cup will get put into full swing, which we do annually, and it's always well supported. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that happens in the off season down at Grovedale Reserve is the popular World Cup, the World Cup tournament. Is that going ahead this year, and what's the plans with regards to that?
It's definitely going ahead this year. We usually have it towards the end of November or early December. Yeah. We're hoping to, like last year was our first attempt at having a female version of it. We were supported by 4 teams, and hopefully this year we'll have a bigger turnout from the ladies' side. The men, we average 16 teams every time. Sometimes it gets over 20. So this year I would really love for the ladies to be more involved in it and enter a few more teams. And with the ladies, like with the men, you basically got a rule where your parents or yourself had to have been born in that country. Sometimes we do get a few ringers, but the ladies, you can choose a country. We just want to get as many as possible.
Yeah. So just trying to get that off the ground and trying to get as much of it as possible. And as we've seen with the futsal as well, just speaking to Dermott TEBB there earlier, it seems that the women's competition is a little bit slow for the uptake, but he's quite happy because last year there wasn't even a women's futsal competition, and this year there is. But with the Women's World Cup, well, last year there was 4 teams, so at least if we can beat that figure and try and eclipse that will be absolutely fantastic. Dale, overall though, Barwon Soccer Club has done really amazingly. Almost every year it gets to a stage where it's just full. Like there's no more available spots, particularly with the juniors. We saw this year, how many senior men's teams did you have? 5, I think it was. 3 in the local competition, 6, was it? That's absolutely amazing. So when you think about that as well, it's just growing at a massive rate. Where to now? Like, obviously, we see not just Barwon, but we see all the clubs at the moment promoting expressions of interest now and taking expressions of interest so that they can start planning for next year. But as we said, at Barwon, it gets to a stage where you're oversubscribed and you just cannot grow. Has the club been talking to council about either finding another ground or developing Grovedale Reserve so that there's another half pitch or a third pitch or anything like that? Where to now, or have we reached the limit as far as growth is concerned?
We hope we haven't reached the limit because Colin Drain handles that. He has been speaking to council. It has become almost ridiculous to keep our field in good condition for the full season.
Yeah.
Because there's so many pairs of boots training on there every single night. When the seniors rock up at training, there's about 150, 200 kids training before us. So that ground, the wear and tear is just ridiculous. Towards the end of the season, we could actually count the blades of grass on the field. That's how bad it was. The clouds of dust everywhere. We had to try and manage it as best as possible. So one night a week, the seniors and a few junior teams would go train up in Armstrong Creek just to give the ground a bit of a breather. But hopefully council, listen to our pleas, and we're in desperate need of more training facilities. We are 100%.
Yeah, no, it's a common story I hear, speaking to a lot of clubs now, and particularly in the junior sector. It's just impossible to try and accommodate everyone. But hopefully things will start to change and start to improve over the next few years, because football is definitely here to stay, whether councils do like it or not, and especially with the G21 soccer strategy being updated as well. And there is definitely a call for more facilities, more grounds, better quality pitches as well. Hopefully we will see the fruit of that struggle bearing fruit in the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a must.
Yeah. Dale, thanks so much for joining us at such short notice as well. Wishing you all the very best over the coming off season. Enjoy what little time off you can have, and we look forward to speaking to you in 2024.
Thanks, Sanchi. Thanks for having me on. Good
on you. Dale Harris, the senior men's head coach at Barwon Soccer Club. Always a pleasure to have him on board here. Next week, folks, is our last show of the season, and what a beauty have we got prepared for you. We'll be speaking to someone from Geelong Soccer Club. We've been trying to get them for the last 2 weeks, and they're just too busy. But we definitely, I have been promised that next week we will be speaking to someone from the Geelong Soccer Club, and there could be a huge announcement being made by the Geelong Soccer Club, hopefully later this week and in time for next week's show. We'll also be speaking to someone from the Masters Summer League. They've got a massive off-season league happening in February and March every year, and it seems to be growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And next year, plans are already afoot for next season's season 5 of the Masters Summer League. So we'll be speaking to someone from the Masters Summer League as well. And hopefully we will also have another mystery guest as well, a great guest. But before we do, we'll sign off for tonight's show. If you want a copy of David PICKEN's latest book, Football Fans in Their Own Right, which is worth $30, published by Fair Play Publishing and featuring 29 famous and not so famous people on what drives their passion for their football team. Answer this question simply either in the comments section. Well, we're almost about to finish this show, but you can send an email to communitysportsmedia@gmail.com. That's communitysportsmedia@gmail.com. And tell us, what is the club that you support and why? What drives your passion for that football team? The most entertaining and most original answer will receive a copy of David's book from Fair Play Publishing. $29.99 is its value. Football fans in their own right. You can also buy that book through all good booksellers and also via Amazon online. Folks, that brings us to the end of episode 124 of the Game of Two Halves podcast, our penultimate episode for 2023. It's been an absolute pleasure being with you tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure being with you all year. We've got one more episode to go. We'll see you next Monday night at 8 p.m. again on this Game of Two Halves podcast. My name is Tonchi Prusak. Good night.